So, hello, I'm back here again to talk about American domestic politics. Going to ruffle some feathers again, but you know what? If I'm putting light on an issue, it's fine. I'm not worried about who I make mad. Here's the truth. So, the other day there was a hearing that involved a former presidential candidate, a congresswoman I actually supported in 2020. Yeah, I'm going to be honest here. I've made some dumb political choices. She was the biggest mistake I ever voted for in the primary. Now, to be fair, she was not my number one choice. I was voting during the caucuses in the Democratic primary in Nevada because they gave us a ranked choice voting system in 2020. I originally caucused for Bernie Sanders. Okay, I was a Bernie supporter. I gave my third vote at the time. I was mad at Elizabeth Warren, but I gave her I voted for her also in the caucuses because I am kind of a normie. I'm a little bit of a Warren Democrat too. I like Warren. Bernie's still my favorite, but I really liked Elizabeth Warren too. I was mad about the way she went after Bernie though. That kind of made me mad. And she was running her campaign on identity politics, and it drove me crazy. And again, that's the mistake a lot of people on the left often make when they start running campaigns. Like, they're great legislators, but when they start running their own campaign to run for president, they go off message and they start going back to this whole identity politics stuff, denigrating their opponents to make themselves look good. Oh, they do the whole, especially some of the female candidates that run, they do this. They were great legislators. They were great messengers when they talked about things they cared about, but they do this whole tirade of, oh, well, let me attack my opponent in the primary who's getting the most support from my wing of the party, and do this whole, oh, he's sexist, he's racist, he's this, he said this to me. And see, that kind of crap, some of that crap is baloney, and it drives me crazy. And I'm like, look. And then they focus on, women this, minorities that, but they look so insincere when they do it. And it's like, look, there is a place and a time for those arguments, and I'm all ears for it. Because I do not want us to abandon our values as a party and as progressives. I'm not saying silence the voices of minorities and women. I'm 100% on board for elevating their voices at every level. But when some of these candidates run for president or U.S. Senate races in higher office, they go off message because they get desperate and want to find a way to beat their opponent in a primary, and they know that person has a lot of political and electoral strength, and they feel threatened by it, and they use this whole, this character assassination attempt. And then they start focusing on woke and identity politics, thinking it's going to help them because they know a big segment of the Democratic electorate latches onto that messaging. But I was annoyed she did that. I still voted for her as one of my votes, though, because I knew genuinely she was a good legislator. Okay. I was bad at her momentarily. I didn't like how she went after Bernie like she did. Irritated me. But anyways, and I thought it was counterproductive. But here's the thing. Tulsi Gabbard was was my second and third vote in the primary caucuses. Now, that one I regret ever supporting, because she is a true grifter. She sold her soul to the MAGA cult. All right, she is working for the apricot Antichrist, devil incarnate. Now, she cannot own the liabilities that this guy created, because she put her ass on that congressional stand in a hearing under oath and contradicted herself. When Senator Ossoff and other prominent senators asked her point blank, it is your job as a member of the intelligence agency, being a head of the intelligence agency, to warn us about threats and foresee what's going on and ultimately make a decision based on that. And Tulsi Gabbard had nothing to say other than, I don't call the shots, the president does. So her whole thing, you already know she's jumping ship. She's lawyering up. She went and got herself a lawyer. Okay? She got herself a lawyer. she's getting off the Trump tirade slowly because she's realizing, oh crap, what did I get myself into? Because remember, she was Miss Anti-War, and she kept warning about war with Iran, and she kept telling us if we go to war with Iran, it's the end. That's precisely what Donald Trump just did. And she's the head of the national intelligence, and she's working for him. Okay. Her desperation to elevate her political career at any level she could. And because she wanted to get revenge on the left, which is what this was about. This is why Tulsi Gabbard did this grift. Because she was mad at the Democratic Party for seeing through her con and her BSing of people and manipulating them and basically being a psyop for Russian propaganda, all right, pushing right-wing talking points, pretending to be a no-nonsense independent, no BS nonsense independent kind of character, which I found appealing, I ain't gonna lie, because there are times I feel politically homeless, all right? I'm not always on board with everything the Democratic Party does. I'm certainly not on board with what the Republican Party is doing. Okay, I think independent voices are important when they're genuine, when they actually care and want to fight for the people and want to make lives better for everybody. Which at one point I believe Tulsi Gabbard was that person. And many people warned me and I did not listen. And they were all correct. Now she's going to sit here and be the head of intelligence of agency of head of intelligence, contradict every word that comes out of her own mouth, and claim that it's Donald Trump's place and the president's place to call the shots on everything, and therefore she's just sitting there as a psyop, basically, doing his bidding. She doesn't actually agree with his foreign policy decisions. You can tell. And when you've seen her on that stand, you can tell by the way she acted, the way she looked away from the camera. She was genuinely embarrassed. Okay? Because she knows that they're all looking like damn fools right now. Right along with Pete Hegseth and all these other people that are a complete embarrassment to our country. But this is what she sold her soul for. This is where she rested her political career. Okay? And I don't know how many of these people are not going to learn their lesson. Maybe the payoff is so good it's worth it. But whenever you get on Team Trump, your political career is done. You are not going to move on from this. And it's going to be far worse in his second term than it was his first term because he's doing so much more damage this time. And you're going to have to own all the damage this guy does. All of it. So everything you said prior to becoming part of that cult to elevate your own political career means nothing. So her views of warning against the Iran war, against the war with Iran, her views about wanting to end world wars and counterproductive regime change wars, all this nonsense she went around talking about to everybody, trying to fool people believing she was the pro-peace candidate who wanted to bring world peace, you know, which again, I found appealing until I saw the truth. Now she's sitting here representing the United States under the devil incarnate, doing his bidding, can't give an honest answer about anything, and then contradicts herself on the stand in front of the American people. Like I said, all these people reveal who they are under Donald Trump. Every single one of them. Actions speak louder than words. Your words mean nothing when the work that you do is causing more damage and harm than good. That's all I had to say in this video. But anyways, y'all have a great night. You have a great day. See y'all later. Love y'all. Goodbye.